Welcome to Simpleton Review. Charlie's laughing at me already, and I have no idea why. I am Simpleton number 1, otherwise known as Nate Wade.
And I'm Simpleton number 2, Charlie Gibson.
I'm Simpleton number 3, Lemuel Edwards.
Simpleton number 1, number 2, and number 3. And for some reason, I get Simpleton number 2 and number 3 mixed up quite often. So if you've seen any weird things on the website, or just the fact that I say Simpleton number 2 and I'm expecting Lemuel to answer on the podcast here, that is because I'm a simple guy. I'm just saying. First of all, I want to show you, okay, just moving on to a different subject, I want to show you something here. Okay, first, you got to see this. You see that? Huh?
Nice.
You know what this is? Normally, I have my hair tied back, but this is my tribute to the fact that there is a movie that just got released called Bill and Ted's Face the Music,
so this
right?
isn't a midlife
so this looks
crisis?
like Ted, doesn't it? Yeah? Huh? I think so. All right. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I haven't seen it yet. I'm poor, so I can't rent it till next week when I get paid. But it looks good.
So you guys don't have theaters open over there yet?
We have theaters open. I'm
always ditching work for going to the movies.
Well, like I said, I'm still poor. I can't afford it till I get paid. So regardless of if it's at the theaters or rentable, I can't do it. I did hear we talked about Mulan last time. Mulan is going to actually be released free of charge starting in December. So if people can wait until December, they'll be able to watch it for free on Disney Plus. So yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, that's what I heard.
Keep your membership aligned for Disney Plus. You'll be golden.
That's right. Exactly.
Until then, watch the Mandalorian?
Mandalorian. Right. That's exactly correct.
I still haven't finished.
Watch that again till it comes out.
That's right. So this episode, we are going to be reviewing a movie that was picked by Simpleton number 2 called Give Me Liberty. Charlie, how did you originally hear about this movie?
I was actually just strolling through IMDb.
Uh-huh.
And honestly, it's just one of those random ones. I saw the poster picture and read a little bit about it, and I'm like, yeah, this is the one. This is the one I want to watch.
All right.
We'll review it.
Okay, well then, why don't you give me a little bit of a synopsis about the movie and then tell me what you thought about it?
So this is a story of Vic, who's a van driver for he's a outsourced van driver for different situations for sorry, my brain froze for a second there. He works for disabled folks and also elderly folks.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just a van driver, supposed to pick them up, take them to their appointments, and different things like that. And all heck breaks loose when family gets involved and other things that you just don't feel like you can ever control.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me, what did you, so you've watched it. How many times have you seen the movie so far?
3. The first one I watched without the subtitles.
Okay.
So it made it really interesting hearing all the Russian and not knowing what's going on.
Okay.
So Vic, the driver, is a Russian immigrant.
Right.
And he's probably the first full American generation.
Sure.
And so, so he's speaking English, speaking Russian with I think it's his grandfather, and then with his mom and all this stuff. And just random events happening.
Yeah. Okay, so what'd you think of the movie?
I actually liked it.
Okay.
I was kind of disappointed that it didn't seem to go a lot more, go into a heavy, closure, but it was very much a existential kind of story.
Uh-huh.
Is that life keeps going, and no matter how random or how awful things are, or even how good things are, they change, and everything passes. And but at the same time, it's like there's still love between people, and there's hope out there. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you one thing that you could definitely say for this movie is that the dialogue is never stale, because it's all impromptu dialogue, right? I mean, that most of that dialogue was not written. They just told the actors to riff, and that's exactly what they did. Now, let me tell you what I thought of this movie, okay? And of course, as always, I have lots of opinions. I want to say, first of all, that my anxiety level was going through the frickin' roof, especially for about the first quarter of the movie. I was just like, I cannot get a breath. I felt like I was underwater and this guy was going to suffocate me. I felt sorry for the kid, but he could not gain control of the situation. Everything kept on getting on top of each other and on top of each other. And before you knew it, he was totally out of control. Everything was going nuts. He was getting threatened to lose his job. All these people were screaming at him. His old people were screaming at him. I was just like, oh my God. I would just have, at some point, if I was Vic, the van driver, I would have stopped the van. I would have gotten out of the van and I would have just walked down the sidewalk and let all those people sit in that van because I was tired of it.
Yeah.
And not only that, after that, there's a scene at the very end where there's a riot that breaks out. Now, the interesting part about this movie is that it was released in 2019. So it was filmed way before 2020. So it was filmed way before all of the riots and protests we've had this year. So the fascinating part about the movie is that there's this idea of protests that are happening around this Wisconsin city, which is even more interesting now after what's happening in Kenosha, Wisconsin. So there's this protest theme running throughout the movie that gives you more anxiety. And then they end up in the middle of it towards the end of the movie. And at that point, I didn't only feel anxiety, but I felt like the walls were crushing in on me and I felt claustrophobic. It was crazy nuts. Lemuel, what did you think of this movie?
There was a lot going on all of the time. I liked it. It was just my head felt like I was being shoved in a couch.
Yeah. I mean, I did like it. I thought the characters were really engaging. I did. I thought Vic was engaging. I thought the con guy, whatever his name was,
Dima.
It was interesting. It's like, okay, is he a bad guy or is he not a bad guy? I think really the bottom line is he was both. He did have a heart, even though he was a con artist at the same time. There was that. I think Vic, I really felt bad for that kid because he just comes across as this guy who not only has a job to do, but has a heart so big that he can't say no to anybody. At least that's what I got out of it.
That's why he was getting in trouble, is because he couldn't say no to those elderly folk.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. It was an interesting movie, but it just was this constant thing. And the whole movie revolves around the van. I mean, that's the centerpiece of the movie is the van.
The way it was shot while he was driving too. Oh,
it's enough to make you a little dizzy.
It was interesting.
It made it fun to see him flash back and forth between all the faces in the van and how everybody responded to what he was going through. Because nobody had the same perspective that he did.
Yeah.
Well, why can't you get a grip on this? Why not?
Yeah.
Why should these things matter to you?
Right. Well, they do, right? And they did to him. They mattered to him. They mattered to his grandpa, so it mattered to him. It mattered to his mom and sister, so it mattered to him. It mattered to the handicapped lady that was the person that was trying to help the others. That was in the wheelchair. It mattered to her, so it mattered to him. It was interesting how that whole thing was in place. But I did really like the humanity of the whole movie. I like the fact they really used disabled people to act in these roles. They weren't putting on a show. Every single one of those disabled people were actually disabled. A lot of the footage shot, that was the actual name of the place. I noticed from the credits that he was calling it in the movie. That was the actual name of the place. So it really exists. And so I thought that was really cool. My mother she had epilepsy. She still has epilepsy. And she was part of one of those probably kind of the same things that Vic was picking people up from in that center there, where they teach people skills, even simple skills that they can do so they can, be self-sufficient if they can be. And it's called, here in Idle Falls, called the Development Workshop. And so I was around those kind of people growing up. a lot. I mean, because they'd have picnics and barbecues, and I'd go with my mom to that when she was learning those skills. And I love those individuals. They're so fascinating. And I think what I like about them, which they showed a little bit in this movie, was the simple pleasure that those people take for anything that happens, whether it be the talent show, quote unquote, especially the Born in the USA song. I loved that dude.
Yeah,
he was amazing. He was so good. Like he just, Born in the USA, and that's it. That's his whole song. And then he turns around and shows his jacket. I was like, yeah, that's it. That's it right there.
Well, and it's like the guy that's quadriplegic at the beginning. He's kind of like the voice of reason.
Yeah, the mentor, right? Yeah, or whatever. Sure.
And he says, yeah, it's funny that the doc said I would never walk again.
Yeah.
Dang if he wasn't right.
Yeah.
Dang if he wasn't right. But you know what? I love life. I love everything about it.
Yeah.
I love every breath. I love, and he went on a spree of everything that he liked.
Yeah, and he was basically the guy's father figure, right? I mean, in a way. I mean, he's like, look, I consider you my son, but I know you're not my son, but you're my son, but you're not my son. And I'm just like, this guy's amazing. And he just spouts out words of wisdom. And I got this feeling that, again, it was completely riffed by the guy. Like, I don't think that was written dialogue. I think that guy made up all that stuff on the spot. And I'm like, if that is real stuff that came out of the mouth of that dude, what a smart man. I want to go sit by his side. Yeah. I'll make a cigarette work for him if he's going to tell me words of wisdom like that. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Anyway, Lemuel, any thoughts?
I liked it a lot. Like you said, the characters were interesting and stuff. My wife called it frustrating. And I can see why.
Yeah.
Because just the way it was shot, all the constant cuts between angles and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think it made it feel more like it was real because, I kind of think of the Steven Spielberg, the Goonies and stuff, where the kids are always talking over each other.
Yeah.
It's a lot like that, but more real than that.
Yeah. Well, and I think maybe why people have a hard time with it in a certain aspect is, one, I don't really feel like it follows a 3-act premise very well, like most movies do. If it does, it's very hard to decide where the acts change. And then on top of that, there's this book that came out years ago called Blue Like Jazz. And the guy that wrote that book, he said the reason why he likes jazz is because it doesn't resolve. And that's exactly what this movie is like. There is no resolve. It just goes and stops. And I know that drives a lot of people because we've been conditioned, especially in Western culture, that stories have to resolve. And when they don't resolve, it frustrates us. And this movie did not resolve.
It didn't ever feel like it was going to resolve either. It was just one thing after another. It was like, ah!
Yeah, right. Well, Lemuel, what would be your score for this movie?
Score? I think I'd give it a 3.5. It's definitely worth a watch. I'm not sure I'd watch it again soon. I think I'd watch it again, just not soon.
Okay.
Just
not soon. You got to give your heart a chance to come back down.
Yeah, I got to breathe a little bit after that.
Charlie, what about you?
I'm going to give it a 4.
4.
I really liked it, and again, I watched it 3 times.
Okay.
I thought it was it held my attention. It had. I related to it a lot. I mean, there was a lot of elements that I got out of it, and would totally recommend it to everybody at least to watch once, even if it makes you a little dizzy.
Yeah. I'm going to have to go with a 4 myself on this episode of Simpleton Review. I'm going to give Me Liberty a 4. I'm a movie geek. Look, I was a film major at one point in my college career among 20 other majors I had, but I love film, and I like unique film. And I think most definitely this one was unique. I could see why it won Sundance Awards. It's interesting, and I could tell, to a certain extent that they had a low budget, but they were very effective with the budget they had. It was a story about people. I always enjoy good stories about people. You don't have to have all the special effects or things blowing up, and I know that doesn't happen very much in our culture and in these movies these days, because we all love the Marvel comic book movies and they run the day, but it's good to know that there are avenues that we can go to watch these kind of movies, these more independent type movies. And Charlie, thank you for pointing that movie out to us. I think it was worth it. Again, I got a number 4. Charlie gives it a 4, and Simpleton number 3 gives it a 3 4.5. Is that correct?
Yep.
All right. Hey, I can listen once in a while. Once in a while I listen. All right, we're going to move into our last segment here on Simpleton Review. It is called Pop Culture News. I'm going to go first. Is that fine with y'all? I'm going to go first.
Do it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So everybody knows who Metallica is, right?
No.
What? All right.
I've never heard of them in
Y'all
my
know
life.
who Metallica is. I know you do. Guitarist and lead singer for Metallica is James Hetfield. Well, guess what? He had a really cool surprise this week. It seems that a scientist decided to name a snake after him. That's right. There is now a James Hetfield snake. In fact, the official scientific name for the snake is Atheris hetfieldi. That's what it is. Atheris hetfieldi. And the snake is, and I quote, it's triangular shaped head and a strongly keeled scales, which makes it look a lot like a dragon. So there you have it. Yeah. So James Hetfield has a snake. That's right.
Hetfield.
That's right. Nice. So the scientist who named it says, here's what he says. He says, look, a mysterious, venomous, and cool-looking snake who lives in the base of a volcano in the middle of a tropical forest is very relatable to heavy metal.
That's
argue.
pretty metal.
Right?
Can't
so there
disagree
you have
with
it.
that at all.
That's more metal than one hand can handle.
That's right. Yeah. So if you ever go to this, I don't even know what island it was, but it's some small island. It's a brand new species of snake. It's first species that's been found on this island in 30 years, and it is called Atheris hetfieldi, named after James Hetfield from Metallica. Mr. Number 3, why don't you go ahead with your pop culture news?
The news I brought today is Dante DiMartino and Brian Konietzko, who are the original creators of the Avatar: The Last Airbender cartoon, have quit the Netflix adaptation, citing creative differences. Both of them saying essentially that they're sure whatever Netflix puts out will be okay, but it's not what they envisioned. So
now everybody's wondering then, is it going to really depart from the actual cartoon version of that, which is at this point considered a modern day classic cartoon, or is it going to be, I mean, I look, it's probably not going to be as bad as
I hope
Shyamalan's
not.
version of Last Airbender.
I hope
right.
not. But there have been rumors that they're going to try to make the show a little, to sexualize the characters a little more.
It's Netflix. Are you shocked?
Yeah, no, but that's still disappointing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it remains to be seen how Netflix decides to treat The Last Airbender. Hopefully they're at least somewhat, they hold true to the thematic elements of Last Airbender. I always thought it was kind of a dumb cartoon until I actually sat down and watched it. I was like, it's actually a pretty good cartoon. It had a lot of good values to it. The storyline was really good. It's Americanized anime basically is what it is, right? But it's not bad. And everybody that watches it says this is a good cartoon. The story arc is pretty incredible over the course of, how many seasons is it?
I think it's 3.
3 seasons, right? You got, it's 4, isn't it? It's like, because you have all the elements. Isn't that what it is? It's based on elements.
Yeah.
Wind, fire, water, and ice or something. I can't remember. Yeah. Anyway. So, Mr. Number 2, what about you? Pop culture news.
My pop culture news is more like local news almost, because you go on, you hear about things on the news all the time, and so I went to Portland.
Yeah, that's
where I'm from, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, you gonna join a protest and start some fires or something?" Tempted. So no, but the whole thing is that it's like one of the things I like to do is walk through downtown, and there's a lot of damage. Mm-hmm. And but it's not something that everybody. It looks extremely different. You don't see the people walking back and forth to work and everything. Mm-hmm. But these kind of things are important to remember, is that life still goes on after major incidences.
Right.
And that's the thing, is that walking through there, you could see all the busted out glass that was replaced by boards and covered with graffiti. Got some graffiti on it. But at the same time, people are still milling around.
Is it as bad as the news is making it out to be, as far as the damage and destruction of the place?
A lot of broken glass. I think the thing is that a lot of people are not working right now because I think they might have already got, like, most of the population is already working from home.
Right.
So I don't know that it necessarily hurt what it all hurt, but you know that when you got like 5 or 6 blocks of like buildings with broken glass, like that are glass fronted, broken out. Apple Store, they had a whole big unit, and all the glass was covered up. Whatever was not broken was covered up with boards.
Yeah.
Definitely not going to be opening for a while, but
yeah.
I don't know that they were necessarily open. I know the one here in Boise isn't open because COVID kind of like ruined the day.
Right.
So, yeah, it was the homeless population is spread out a little bit more. You see a lot more tents for the homeless. Folks have like provided tents. So, but they've spread out and started lining up on the sidewalks.
Right.
Through different areas, and some that I've not seen before. And people that are living there that probably recognize it every day is like, oh, okay, well, this has been a growing problem, and but who's going to do something about it? Who knows?
Yeah, for sure.
But it was the big shocker was like to be going through all that, and like right at the center, like ground zero almost, was a T-shirt tent like you'd see at a concert.
Oh yeah,
for protesters. It was horrible.
It's the goodbye T-shirt.
So, yeah, I could have gone and bought the T-shirt. Say I've been there. Instead, I just went up. What was funny was that a lot of local businesses, I went up to a Mexican place that I've been going to since I was a teenager. Still open.
Yeah.
No damage.
Oh, wow.
And still family run.
Uh-huh.
Went up there and had lunch and with my cousin and my nephew.
Sure.
And, people are still milling around, and, life still happens.
Right, for sure. It would have been fun if there was a booth right next to the T-shirt booth that like sold Molotovs or something like that. Well, anyway, that was a terrible joke. It was a terrible joke. We do wish everybody safe times in these protests. Like Charlie said, they're important, and I'm glad they're happening. And I hope and pray that everybody stays safe. And I do hope and pray that if there are agitators that are mixed in with these groups, that people stop them, because there are people out there mixed in with these protests that have their own agendas, and that is sad to see. They are trying to hijack the original message of these protests that started a few months ago, and I hope and pray that just stops, that the protests will continue to do what they need to do, and that's to shine light on racism and injustices in this country, and spotlight police brutality. And I hope and pray that everybody stays safe out there. And I also want to say I hope and pray everybody stays safe down there in Texas and Louisiana after the hurricane ripped through there. It's one of the most powerful hurricanes they've ever had. There's a lot of people that are going to be without power for a couple of months, and many people had their homes completely destroyed. And so I do pray that those people are able to find places where they can have shelter, and insurance covers that and all that stuff. So cover all that stuff. That's, this podcast is, and this YouTube is trying to be an escape from some of that. And I think there is a time to be able to escape, if it's just for a few minutes. And hopefully you guys are able to do that when you listen to our show, even if it's not that good. It's fine. Well, I hope you guys, like and subscribe to the podcast, and we'd love to have you sign up. And you can go to our website at simpletonreview.com. You can buy t-shirts. You can listen to the podcast there if you'd rather listen to the audio version of this, or you can find us on YouTube. Videos are there available at the website. Buy some t-shirts from each one of us. Charlie has the best design, in my opinion. I think Simpleton number 3 would agree with that. So please go ahead, buy some t-shirts. Support Simpleton Review, and we'll see you guys next week. No, I take that back. We'll see you next month. That's better. Like and subscribe to our channel. Love you guys. Bye-bye.